On today's show,
they want to see that it works. You're trying something completely new, and I think especially when you're telling kids that are going from 28 or so minutes a game, now you're probably going to play 20 minutes a game, and we're going to go a little deeper. They've got to see that, if this works and I'm losing minutes, are we still successful?
It is the final show of the month for Kansas Sports Chatter, a statewide high school sports entertainment show streaming on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. My name is Cole Rife. It is the final show of the month. So for winter sports, that means it's crunch time. It's go time. It's down to the home stretch. Whatever expression, whatever phrase you want to use, it's that time of the year. And I think for the casual fan, and I'm not saying everybody, but for the casual fans, sometimes for winter sports, especially with the Christmas break, it's hard to get overly excited in the month of December, January. But, man, everybody can get on board for that final stretch in that final month, even less than a final month here for the regular season for winter sports. So an exciting, exciting time and exciting guests on the show today. We got Promyce, McNeal, and Kyla Hamel with Salina South High School with the girls basketball team. With our leadoff question. Jeff Wurtz, he had a very busy week last week with the TVL tournaments, and he is with the TVL Spotlights, and he'll run through those two champions from the girls and the boys last week. Mark Western, head coach of the Shawnee Mission South girls basketball team. Most rankings have them number 1 in the state in Class 6A. Good conversation with Mark Western coming up. Scott Goodheart, the KSHSAA Director of Officials, will take us through the making the call of a block or a charge in basketball. Conor Nicholl with Sunflower Sports Solutions, able to pick his brain on what's going on in the high school basketball scene. And then it'll be Damare Smith with the University of St. Mary with the men's basketball team, and from Shawnee Mission Northwest High School, also a stop at Cali College. He will be our next level talents at the end of the show. Here we go. It is our leadoff question. Today's leadoff question brings in a member of the Salina South girls basketball team, Promyce McNeal. Promyce, the question today, where's your favorite place to play besides your home court?
My favorite place to play, or my favorite court to play on, besides ours, because I think ours is definitely the best out of all of them. But I would say Valley Center, just because we always have a tough game there, but we always come out on top. And then we also, sorry, my Chromebook. I don't know, the environment's just really nice. The gym's nice, the lighting's good, and overall, it's just a good gym.
Any of the features there at Valley Center that stand out that you like?
Features, I would say their band. Their band's very loud, and their band engages a lot in their games. So, yeah, I would definitely say their band.
Have you had good performances there? You mentioned you always come out on top. Have you had any good individual plays there?
Individual plays, I remember last year it was a very back and forth game between them. And I would say there's a lot of key moments that I had that definitely made us come out on top that game.
Do you enjoy going on the road?
Yeah, I like going on the road a lot.
For you, what's better, getting a road victory or winning at home in front of your home crowd?
I would say a road victory against a really good team.
That is Promyce McNeal, member of the Salina South girls basketball team, with our leadoff question. It's our leadoff question with Salina South girls basketball team, and a member is going to be Kyla Hamel joining us next. Kyla, the question today, where's your favorite place to play besides your home courts?
My favorite court to play on is Kansas Westland because we play our rivals. They're Salina Central, and this year was a good year because we beat them. And the crowd is always so big, so it's louder, and it gives us more motivation.
What's it like playing in that gym? Are any features that you like of that gym?
I'd say their band because
yeah.
When we make a good play, you just hear them start playing during the timeout or something. So it gives us even more confidence to keep going throughout the game.
Being a South girl, what's it like playing in that rivalry against Central?
It's a bit scary, and if you don't do good, then it's going to be all around town saying that our team lost to the rivals across.
I mean, like I know playing at Kansas Wesley is not necessarily a true road game, I guess, for either one of you, but what's it like going on the road for you and your team?
I'd say going on the road is pretty good because we always like road games because it gives us even more of a challenge to come out with a win.
Any specific highlights that stand out from that game against Central there at Kansas Wesleyan?
I'd say when we got kind of close, I made a back-to-back 3 to put us even more ahead.
For you, what's better, getting a road win or winning in front of your home crowd?
Probably getting a home win.
There you go. That's Kyla Hamel with our leadoff question from Salina South. Promyce McNeal and Kyla Hamel with Salina South joining us for our leadoff question. Cougars, a great season so far, already double-digit wins for the Salina South Cougars. Thanks to both of them for joining the show. All right, I mentioned Jeff Wurtz, who runs the TVL Spotlight, who has been keeping fans in that portion of the state and across the state updated on the TVL for a number of years now with great coverage of that conference. And he was a busy man. Really busy with the TVL tournaments just this past week in Washington. And he gives us an update on the 2 champions and some really good matchups all week long at the TVL tournaments. And here's Jeff Wurtz.
Thanks, Cole. It was a tremendous week at the 30th Annual Twin Valley League Tournament. The Centralia Panthers win their 17th league tournament title, defeating Lynn 45-29. Centralia came into this as the 5 seed and really played just their best ball all year long, I think, in this tournament, knocking off 3 state-ranked teams in the 4-day stretch of the TVL tournament this year. And were able to take home, again, the 17th time that they have won this league tournament. And an incredible effort by all of those ladies. They will be dangerous late in this year. I do want to shout out the Clifton Clyde player, Sebi Wurtz. She was able to break the school scoring record for points in a career at Clifton Clyde and now has 1,660 points in her career with still multiple games to go here for the Clifton Clyde senior. Sebi Wurtz is a name that you need to know around this state. She was able to get 2 points. She just needed 2 points in that game on Friday against Donovan West, and obviously was able to get that and get it by a whole lot more after that. On the boys' side, it was top-seeded Hanover winning this championship over defending 1A D2 state champion Axtell. Hanover in this tournament had wins of 52, 28, and 27. Cooper Bruna and Braylon Mine led scoring in the championship, with 24 for Bruna and 22 for Mine. So yes, an incredible week in Washington. I was honored to be a part of it, honored to just get to see games like this all week long in Washington. And now, thank goodness, we are back at home, safe after such a big snow here in Northeast Kansas.
Yeah, hopefully he was able to rest up a little bit. Jeff Wurtz with the TVL Spotlight. Phenomenal coverage. If you want to check out that conference, check him out on social media with the TVL Spotlights. A break in the action coming up. We'll have Mark Western. He is the head coach of the Shawnee Mission South girls basketball team. Whew, what a phenomenal job he has done. State title under his belt, and they look really good once again this year. Good conversation on not only just the makeup of his team, but also some new things that they've implemented this year. Before we take the break, big thanks to our sponsors. It is Meyers Enterprises. Bring your business into the 21st century with Meyers Enterprises. Also, SPX LED video walls. They build and install LED video walls for indoor environments such as high school gyms. Wheatland Electric, owned by the people they serve with over 32,000 meters. Barton Community College, always enrolling. Check them out at bartonccc.edu. And our new sponsor for today, Eastus Media, the voice of the Pratt High Greenbacks, bringing big-time coverage to small-town sports. Huge thanks to Eastus Media jumping on board as a partner. What they do and what Cody does at Eastus Media I mean, it's top notch because not only do they provide the broadcasts, on the radio for Pratt High School, but then they bring the video stream. Well, there's other media outlets that do that. Then they have the kind of like us. They have the behind the mic. They have their own behind the mic where they have a camera actually on Cody and his broadcast partner. You can see the reactions throughout the game, which is always fun, especially on big plays and big moments. They have their behind the mic. And then what they do as far as bringing high school sports to you in the Pratt community goes so many other levels because you got to check out during the fall, especially they have the coaches show. Brent Holting, who has been on the show a couple times, head coach the Pratt High football team. He comes on there, and you can't produce a coaches show any better than what Cody does with Eastis Media. Phenomenal. Really, really good stuff. So, like, even if you don't have a connection to Pratt, you want to watch just because of the production value of it. I mean, it's top-notch stuff. And then they go beyond sports with the Pratt Chamber and just a bunch of other different entities that need that media outlets, whether it's a podcast or whether it's just video coverage, anything like that. So if you have your business, your organization, your family, whatever it may be, you need some type of media outlet to help you out with some type of coverage, you got to check out Eastis Media. Big thanks to Cody and his crew for joining us here as a partner here on Kansas Sports Chatter. Now it's time for that break. We'll come back. Mark Western, head coach of Shawnee Mission South High School girls basketball team, is next. Here's a hard truth. If your business isn't using AI in its marketing, you've already fallen behind. But there's an advertising agency in Kansas that can get you back up to speed. That agency's name is Meyers Enterprises Media Research. The name sounds dry because the company's run by engineers, not salespeople. They use superior research and analytics that drive results with surgical precision. Marketing doesn't have to be a gritty battle in the trenches. Your business can win from the box. Visit their website, mediaresearch.agency, to learn more. Welcome back on the show. It is time to talk some basketball with our next guest, Mark Western. He is the head coach of the Shawnee Mission South girls basketball team. Coach, thanks for coming on the show. I mean, a great start to the season. The record's there, the rankings there. But for you, has it been pretty easy to see that steady progress at this time of the season as you guys continue to get further and further?
I believe that, yes, we've continued to improve. I think a lot of times I've had teams where I feel like when we get to the midseason, that's kind of probably as good as we're going to get. I still feel like this group has room to climb, which is that's a good feeling if you're ranked high. Rankings don't mean much, but you're in the mix at least. And then you've got room to get better. And I don't want to peak in the end of January or beginning of February. We want to keep tuning it up and be better in March.
Yeah, you always hear, coaches talk about, you want to be playing your best basketball at the end of the season. Are there steps that you take that help you get to that point, or is it just a natural thing of, reps and more games, more practices, or is there certain things that you try to implement?
Well, I think it's dependent on the team, right? So this group, we're pressuring a lot more than we have in the past. I think that means that there's a lot more work to do on rotations than maybe there were in the past, just because we didn't have that, the style of play that we're in now. But I'm a big believer in whatever you rep the most, you're going to get good at. And so I don't think spreading yourself thin and trying to get good at 10 things is the answer. We really try to figure out the 3 or 4 things we think are going to be crucial to us being successful, and really hammer them every single day to the point where it's just boring. But we like to say the process is boring.
Yeah. I mean, the process has worked out really well so far. So, but for you, like you mentioned, the pressure and the rotation's a little bit different. Did you know that kind of coming into the season that you're going to make a slight tweak there?
Yeah. So I'll give credit to somebody that he might be embarrassed that I mentioned his name, but he's my mentor, and he's a coach out in Colorado. He's a retired NBA agent. His name's Jeff Neal, and he's the best basketball mind I've ever been around. He's the guy that gave me my first job, and he came out to Kansas City this summer, and we met, and he's wanted me to do this for a while. We just haven't had the depth. And so I was all in. You've got to be all in if you're going to do this. We didn't want to half step it or kind of go a little bit and not fully commit to it. But yeah, no, we knew that this was going to be a learning process for me more than probably even the girls. And so I knew what to, say, this is the solution to whatever the problem is. But yeah, it's been fun. I'm learning more than I feel like I have in the past. And it's the girls buy-in, because the buy-in is the biggest thing. It doesn't matter really what you run, as long as the girls believe that it's going to give them a chance to be successful. But the buy-in with 2-minute rotations and constantly subbing and man press the whole game, it's just, you're hopeful, but they've done a great job of believing it and believing in it, and it's worked well so far.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about that buy-in. We had, Nate Schmidt, head coach of Wichita Collegiate boys basketball, on the show last week, and he was talking about, his press and, how important that buy-in is. Like, especially because when you press, it can be high risk, high reward sometimes, of whether or not you're giving something up or you're getting something. Like, how easy was it for your squad to kind of buy in and then it's also just be disciplined enough to not give up, too many easy baskets, I guess?
Yeah, I think the proof is kind of in the pudding. So, I mean, if you try it and it doesn't work, they're going to, kind of look at you with a side eye and say, Coach, I don't know about this. But they do a good job of trusting. And I think we had a little bit of success this summer, but then you need to see it in the real season. So, yeah, for them, it was like, we believe you. We know that we think you know what you're talking about. And I think that they do. But they want to see that it works. You're trying something completely new. And I think especially when you're telling kids that are going from 28 or so minutes a game, now you're probably going to play 20 minutes a game. And we're going to go a little deeper. They've got to see that, if this works and I'm losing minutes, are we still successful?
You go into your half court game, like how many half court sets would you say you have offensively for your squad at this point?
We've got about 20. And so we haven't shown a lot of them. We try to save them. The coaches in our league are so dang good. If we run them all early, we just don't have much late. So we'll try to survive off a few. And then when we feel like those are scouted well, we'll move along. But we work on them every day. So that's kind of I wouldn't say a boring part of practice, but it's just a little slower pace. They're having to just, make sure that the mental is there for the offense, whether it's zone quick hitters or man plays. And I guess counting our zone quick hitters, we probably have about 30 plays. So they're a smart group. I've had groups that had a little more, and I've certainly had teams that had a lot less. So this is a smart enough group where I feel like 30, not counting our sideline and our baseline out of bounds, just with our half court sets is pretty right in line with where we should be at.
I know you noted you don't want to drill them with too many new things all at once. But how often do you try to incorporate maybe like one or two of those new plays like each week? Like, what's your philosophy on that?
Yeah, so we'll add one. Like yesterday, we added two, but try to layer it. Just I think of just how I would learn one, then learn that one again, practice that one, learn the next one, and kind of day by day, maybe just adding one. And if you feel like there's one that was maybe similar or one they've maybe run in the past that we haven't run in a couple of years, because we will recycle, good plays that just get scouted well. And we'll try to bring them back in a few years. Then I feel like maybe on that day you could add two. I think early what we try to do is add like all 10. So if we start with 10, I'll try to give them all to them at the beginning. They have a playbook that's, something it's an app, so they can get on their phone, and instead of TikTok or whatever they're going to spend their time on, they can look at the offense, hopefully, for a little bit. And it's worked well where I feel like they've been prepared, maybe more so than before when we didn't have necessarily an electronic playbook. The kids are on their phones, so if they can, the buy-in's there to at least look at it for 10 minutes, it helps.
Yeah, I know, like Huddle, you can track, how much game film, like a certain player watches. Can you track that on the app to make sure, hey, I noticed you didn't watch any of the plays?
No. So the way we do it is I'll just say, I trust that when we get to that point, they know them. I'll start up calling out random plays, and then the consequences is baseline if they don't know them. So they're on each other. Like, do you know it? Make sure you know it. Make sure you know it. And they'll be, hold on, coach, I think we need to go over it one more time. So they police each other pretty well with that. The huddle stuff is interesting though, because you will see some kids that just are watching a lot more film than maybe the other kids. And that's awesome to see. It is cool to see that.
Talk with Mark Western, head coach of the Shawnee Mission South girls basketball team. You arrived in 2019. Take me back to that point. What was it like just kind of settling in as the head coach?
It was cool because, it was a place that I was told, it's going to be tough to win there. And, it might be a good stepping stone type of a job. And that's kind of all I needed to hear was it was not maybe a location that people thought we could be as successful as we've been. And so I'm stubborn, a little bit to a fault, but I felt like we could do the thing, and it might take a few years. And what really comes down to is this: we had Cameron Smith and Jocelyn Moore came in my second year, and it was I'm not going to pretend that it comes down to much more than when you've got really good players, you're going to look smarter, and when you've got players that are good, but they're not elite players, you're going to have to really scrap and fight for every single win in our league. It's not a coincidence that I had more success when we got some college basketball players coming through. Now, starting them as freshmen, there were some growing pains, but the work ethic was great. The buy-in was great. And then I think what that does is it just kind of snowballs down. And we have one girl that remains that played significant minutes that's healthy this year. Layla Burnt from that state title team, and another one in Ashley Kramer that played a huge part. She was the shooter on that team, but she's injured this year, but they still are able to, in my opinion, kind of the lessons they learned from Cameron and Jocelyn and Ashley Van Elders and Zy Funches and Brielle Staines and Grace Bagby, those seniors that were there for them, they're now passing that along. And so I think it's cool to see our freshmen now in a way are getting lessons from Cameron, even though she's, a sophomore in college.
You mentioned, having good players always helps and makes the coach look good. But do you ever feel as a coach like there's extra pressure when you do have like maybe some of those top tier talents you want to coach everybody the same, but at the same time, you want to make sure you're pushing them and getting them to where they need to be. Is there any, extra, sense of pressure as a coach?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the pressure is you don't want to let a kid down by not holding them accountable and being consistent. But the real pressure, like from a coaching standpoint, is when people expect you to win and you just don't have the talent. And I've had those years where everyone from the outside might think you guys are going to be really good this year, and you kind of know where the holes are, and maybe that you're not quite as good as the outside might think you're going to be. And so that to me is a lot of pressure. When we have good players, I feel like at times just don't overcoach, put them in positions where, they're able to use spacing and make plays and be playmakers and kind of get out of the way. Don't have to do too much if you've got really talented kids, aside from, the hold them accountable on the effort, unselfish, and playing hard defensively.
It was really cool to see you guys be able to win it all, like you said, in 2024. First one since the mid 1990s for your club. Then not being able to make it back that next year, I know it's like always those high expectations, but did that fuel you even more, like after winning it all than, last year? Well,
it caused me to really reflect. You scored 24 points in that sub-state final, and it's a coaching issue at some level. You can say we just didn't have the kids, or this was this and that, but at the end of the day, you've got to be able to put them in a position where we can score more than 24 points. And that was a large part of the reason that I met with Jeff Neal, and we, I decided to go all in on the press, and if we're gonna win or we're gonna lose, we're gonna do it where we're at least give ourselves a chance from a point standpoint. So I figured, our defense was going to create some points for us. A year older, so hopefully everybody's a little more mature in the half court offense, but just trying to create extra possessions. I think if you have a bad team, the first thing you want to do is figure out how to get more shots. And I'm not very smart, but I would say the easiest ways to do that is turn someone over and get offensive rebounds at a higher rate than you did the previous year. Right now we're at 46% on our offensive rebound percentage, which I would think would be leading the state. Where our goal is always 40. This is the best team I've had at that. And then we're turning teams over 28 times a game and averaging 20 steals a game. And so both those numbers to me are right in line with like the style of play and what we're doing. And I feel like if you're not going to score in the half court, you got to figure out ways you can manufacture points. So yes, it made me self-reflect, and I took that one hard. I really did think that it was more of a coaching issue than a talent issue last year.
Mark Western joining us here, Shawnee Mission South girls basketball coach. Do you look at stats differently with this new style of play? Because I remember talking to former Cali college coach Tommy DeSalm, and like he started out this huge press, and it was
with Nicholl. So Eric Nicholl and I grew up together. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Yeah, nice. Yeah. Well, then, you guys probably have good conversations now. But
right. I say you press too dang much. You need to dial it back a little. And he goes, full tilt. And I try to do it a little more safely. But I love talking to Nicholl about that. And no, they were one of the teams that I was looking at first. Like, possessions, I was asking Eric, how many shot attempts are you guys trying to get? So certainly I'm looking at different things than I had in the past. But the goal for us was 64 field goal attempts a game just to get to a minute. And, he always felt like they needed to get close to that 80 or 90 number in their game. And so, no, it's been cool. And that you mentioned Callie and Hutch, obviously now he's doing a great job at Butler. So it's cool. Yeah. And it's fun because I'm not going to convince him that he should run our style a little, more so than what he does. And he ain't going to sell me on his, but they're similar. It's kind of the same mind frame. I think he is completely insane giving up 100, but I know other coaches are like, you're giving up 55 points to this team. We held them to 30. And so they probably think I'm a little crazy, but no, Nicholl does a great job. And I definitely picked his brain and tried to learn from him on that stuff.
Because I remember talking and hearing their conversations, field goal percentage, you want to shoot well, but it didn't mean as much. They were looking at rebounds and like you said, shot attempts and steals and just possessions. So you might only shoot 5% from outside, but if you're shooting 60 of them, that's a big difference. So
yeah, no, you're right. I kind of use this example. I said and I don't know, I haven't looked after our last game. It wasn't quite the same margin, but we were at about 65 attempts and our opponents were at 36 attempts. So we don't even have to take good shots at some level. Yeah. If you're shooting 65 times and they're only getting 36, it's not, it doesn't take a genius to figure out probably who's going to come out on top there.
Hey, Coach, appreciate your time and the insight to your program, and best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you for having me.
That is Mark Western, head coach of the Shawnee Mission South girls basketball team, and we'll have more of the show right after this. SPX Specialized Video Wall Solutions. Your gym needs SPX. It is Stripes and Whistles with Kansas referees here on the show, an opportunity to talk to referees and officials about certain calls that they have to make in a variety of sports and also just the rule book a little bit. And our guest today for the segment is going to be Scott Goodheart. He's the director of officials for KSHSAA. Scott, appreciate you coming back on the show, man. How's the officiating world?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always great to come on and talk Kansas sports with you. So, it's January. We're off and running. The slogan has always been about this time of year, this is where the sweat starts to stink, if you will, because we're getting into midseason time. So you got teams that are excelling and doing well. You got teams that are struggling. You got teams that are trying to get over the hump. So it's a big 2 weeks or 3 weeks of basketball here in the state of Kansas for sure. So.
I brought you on. I want to talk, the block charge call for basketball and just kind of breaking that down and what the referee's perspective of things. But first of all, you guys came out and KSHSAA announced their 2025 Sports Officials of the Year. Pretty cool honor for a lot of guys and gals across the state.
Yeah, for sure. So this is an annual thing that we work with NFHS where we turn names in to kind of give those officials the little extra kudos. Their work throughout the off season, during the season, things of that nature that they really go above and beyond. So we were able to honor 12 of our very own officials, from gymnastics to football to wrestling to all the sports that we sanction within this office. So appreciate informing us of that, but a big shout out to our officials too for going above and beyond for the youth of the state of Kansas. So.
All right, basketball officiating. Okay, so one of the calls I feel like in basketball that's I don't know if I'm not going to say there's controversy. There's just, I feel like sometimes it's 50-50. Sometimes, people maybe don't quite understand it. Is the block charge call. And the concept is there, but whether or not, it goes one way or it goes the other way, I think, is from an interesting perspective from the officials. So first of all, just how challenging is it as a basketball official to, call block charges in some instances?
Yeah, so, I think you hit it right on the head. It is a 50-50 call, and more times than not, it is the hardest call in basketball because, like we said, it's 50-50. But I think what's really hard for people to understand a lot of times in basketball, it's offensive oriented or offensive minded. So people are watching the ball, they're watching this, they're watching that. They're not really watching the defenders. So sometimes when we have officials, when they're first starting, the hardest tendency to break is not watching the ball, because the ball goes up, the shot goes up, there they go. Well, then they look back down and they see that the offensive, players on the floor, and they don't know how they got there because they're watching the ball. So that's one thing I really try to preach to our young, newer officials when I talk to those classes or clinics or things like, hey, we have to be really good about refereeing the defense. So if you referee the defense, it makes officiating the block charge call pretty easy, actually. So a lot of times, too, people understand like what legal guarding position is. Legal guarding position is almost like 2 feet planted. They think they have to take in the chest sometimes, which rule of thumb usually is probably good for a block charge. But really, as long as they are in legal guarding position, forward facing, they can almost be sliding to an extent. They can also even be retreating to an extent too. And sometimes that's a misinterpreted rule, but when you have players that are going pretty fast, it's a difficult thing to call. There's no question about it. And that's why there's so much time and so much things that go over with the block charge call.
So you bring up kind of like that's like the retreating part. So if you're going with the offensive player, whether that's sliding right or left or retreating, I mean, you're still potentially in position to draw a charge.
Yeah, so legal guarding position obviously is the big one, So, it's sometimes you see like these where they have the 2 hands down. That's more of a college thing, but verticality is huge, If you can use the terminology of verticality, like, hey, you have the floor all the way to the ceiling as high as you will get. And sometimes that'll take me into another one when you talk about the over the back. Well, that's not a rule in basketball. Like, there's a pushing foul, but over the back is not a foul, right? We have athletes that are probably taller that can tip it out and do that versus, no, I completely went through you to get the rebound. Then that's a foul. So,
right.
Again, not to get on a tangent, just one of those
no, that's good
rules. And the other one I'll tell you, the other one that's misinterpreted a lot is calling a reach, right? And I'm not trying to be a smart aleck here, but there's no rule for a reach in the handbook, like in the rule book. So I don't know how else you make a steal without you swiping and reaching, essentially. So there's illegal contact, and there's going to be contact in basketball. That's what people have to understand too. Like, there's contact in basketball, and there's legal guarding position, there's legal contact. But then I think it's that one of when you're not allowing, progress to happen, and you're proceeding that progress, and you're doing things like that, then that's where you have those fouls sometimes. So.
I mean, you don't get tired of like people yelling down from the stands, like, that's over the back, ref, like, something like that. So that just makes you probably smile a little bit when you hear those.
Yeah, that's some of those ones that you kind of nod and do whatever. But yeah, again, not to get on a tangent or anything like that, but it's one of those things we try to help educate when we can on things. So.
Well, I got to imagine like especially any active sport that, that moves a lot, like basketball, like your positioning as an official has got to be key. So like being in that right spot to make sure you have the good view, like how important is that for you?
So angles is everything that you could imagine, right? Because that's what we tell officials is like, put yourself in the best angle possible so you can make the call or no call. Like, because sometimes people think, well, they didn't call anything. Well, that's right. Not everything has to have a call on it. So put yourself in a position to where you can make a call or no call. And we trust your judgment. Like the biggest thing I tell people all the time is talking about definitions. And that's rule 4 in the NFHS basketball rule book. Like once you understand definitions, like airborne shooter, different things like even blocking and charging, basket interference, then the rule book makes more sense once you understand definitions and moving forward. So, case in point, we're in section 4-6, section 7, blocking and charging, art 1. Blocking is illegal personal contact which impedes the progress of an opponent with or without the ball. So you can imagine, yes, there's going to be contact, but once I'm impeding your progress and not allowing you to gain, certain things by holding you or hitting you with my hip or something like that, then we've got a blocking foul. And then talking about art 2, it goes right into charging about an illegal personal contact caused by pushing or moving into an opponent's torso. So again, torso is anywhere that's in this region, right? But a lot of times the old school thing is, well, they got to take it in the chest. That's not necessarily true either. But understand too, the name of the game anymore, it is so fast. I haven't seen a lot of block charge calls essentially because the game is just really changed a lot over the last 5 to 10 years. So there are a couple other things too that mention on that. Sorry, but again, like blocking has art 1 and it is one sentence, right? So then after that, Section 7, Art 2 of charging has charging is illegal personal contact caused by pushing or moving your opponent's torso, but then there's also an A, a B, a C, and a D category on that. So again, that's your,
Wow.
kind of
Okay.
difference of that. So it makes it unique to where it's difficult, right? Because then the rule book can be kind of confusing to read sometimes too, which I don't think people understand that either. So
One area I know that sometimes would frustrate me is like when the offensive player kind of initiates that contact, and I always call it like either kind of like buffaloing or kind of bowling their way in. Like, how tough is that from an official standpoint when maybe they're trying to, I don't want to say they're baiting them, but like initiating that contact?
So I think a lot of times when, officials can talk to coaches, they're saying, well, why isn't that a foul on that guy? Well, coach, your guy initiated all the contact. Therefore, it was marginal enough maybe not to call. However, it wasn't that much of an advantage gained to where we had to call it essentially. So, I mean, you guys, there is such an art to officiating that even the guys who've done this for 30, 40 years, that it's still difficult. And even the pros and even the Division, 1 officials, there is such an art to this sometimes to where you have to understand that, more times than not, if you can get a call on that end of the court, then you call it, and then you have something similar on that end of the court, that's probably going to go a long way. So you can say, well, the officials were consistent and they matched like calls. That doesn't always happen from time to time, but the goal is obviously to be perfect from the start of the game to the end of the game, but it's just not always a reality either. So,
Hey, Scott, I appreciate the time, and I'll let you get back at it.
All right. Thanks, Cole. Appreciate it.
That is Scott Goodheart, the KSHSAA Director of Officials, and that'll do it for Stripes and Whistles.
Power outages don't wait for a convenient time, and neither should you. Right now is the perfect season to invest in a standby generator from Wheatland Electric Cooperative. With low monthly payments and special financing for co-op members, reliable backup power is more affordable than you think. We'll help you survey, install, and finance a Generac standby generator, all with professional installation you can trust. Protect your home, your comfort, and your peace of mind before the next storm hits. Get a free quote today and make life without power a thing of the past. Visit us online or call us to get started today.
Whether it's a Friday night football game or a Saturday Scholars Bowl tournament, there are many people behind the scenes to make these activities function. The Kansas State High School Activities Association and the Student Advisory Team would like to thank all those who make these events happen for our students. Without school administrators, event workers, custodians, officials, transportation personnel, and office staff, these events would not be possible. Your hard work and dedication allow students throughout the state to participate in the activities that they love.
Welcome back on the show as we bring in our next guest, and that is going to be Conor Nicholl. He's with Sunflower Sports Solutions and just knows a little bit about, well, I want to say a little bit. He knows a lot about, it seems like, everything throughout the state and keeps abreast of everything that's going on. Hey, Conor, appreciate you coming back on the show. How's the I guess, the month of January and now getting into February treating you?
Good. Things are going well. At this point, with midseason tournaments, particularly with the small schools in full throttle, you've got a lot of interesting teams going on right now. And I wanted to pinpoint a lot of small school storylines, some about individual teams or players, and some just some broad strokes. First of all, 2A boys. I said this in the summer. Joaquini Trigo, a team to watch out for. And then in football, they have that great climb, the huge turnaround. They go 10-1. They finish number 3 in the final rankings. And then in basketball, they were a 9-win team last year. Nolan Smith takes over the program. Nolan Smith, a great Joaquini player, super energetic, a really interesting guy to talk to, just has tremendous positivity. And they have gone 9-3 this year. So again, 9-win team last year total to 9-3 this year. They have one senior who's getting it done on both ends, a very good leader. And then they've got the standout freshman who obviously was all-state in football, Bladen Crawford. Bladen Crawford is just an exceptional player. Dropped 30 against Phillipsburg, 15 points a game, 5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 2 steals. He is as good of a freshman as there is in Kansas. Went to a major kind of camp showcase in Kansas City last summer. 400 plus kids there, and he was named top 10 kid. Aston Walt, 14 points a game as a junior. The Mejia kid as their lone senior, Julian. He's been a great leader. They should play in the MCL championship game on Saturday. A really neat story of a team turning things around, not only in the fall, but also here in basketball. And of course, a freshman being a huge part of that. From a broad strokes perspective, wanted to also touch on 1A2 boys. I mentioned Trigo has 3 losses. One of them is to Victoria. Victoria boys. Last year, they win the CPL title. This year, under Coach Devin Ryan, this, of course, would be Emily Ryan's brother. He's done a nice job. Victoria's a top 5 team in 1A2. They only have 3 losses to a really good Quinter team, to St. John, and then to Devin Ryan's brother, Michael Ryan, obviously at Central Plains. Victoria only has 6 on the varsity, but they are a true player in 1A2 with 4 to 5 seniors and a great sophomore in Nick Sander, who has played against Vladen Crawford growing up. So kind of a lot of symmetry there. 2 teams out west to definitely watch out for.
You talk about Joaquini going back there, Conor. Man, I remember like when Joaquini basketball was humming, like when Ziegler was there as the head coach. I mean, they had some really good basketball teams. So it's kind of exciting to see them kind of get back on top.
Well, and Cole, you again, I mentioned Nolan Smith, their head coach. Of course, when Lance Ziegler was the coach, Nolan Smith was his sharp shooting 3-point threat. Nolan Smith, and they'll freely admit this, he does not look like a shooting guard. He looks like a post player, but still to this day, he is one of the top 5 shooters that I've ever covered. Super great dude. I mean, again, just exudes positivity and charisma. He took over the Ellis program when they were really down, made them a winning team. The opportunity came open to go back and coach at his former, where he went to high school at. Took that this year. Joaquini's gone through a couple just very disjointed years, and he's done an exceptional job. You mentioned Lance Ziegler. He has since moved over to the girls' side. He is actually the head girls coach at Joaquini. They're improved this year. Last year they went through 2 of their starters, season-ending injuries, and they really struggled. This year they're much better. They've got kind of a balanced group. His daughter is one of those solid players. Trigo girls are definitely looking up. Probably going to be a 500 team this season. But again, I think they only won 5 games last year. So it's a really cool thing what I think is going on in Joaquini. And Cole, you have been there. For those who do not know, one of the best gyms in Kansas. They host everything. Jeremy Sampson, outstanding AD. Joaquini is a great place to watch any sport.
Well, just the size of it. Like, I remember going to the purple and gold tournaments and just, them hosting that, and just the size of the gym, especially even that was more than a decade ago, because now I'm getting really old. So even today, it still seems like it ranks up there as one of the better gyms. Yeah,
they've done a solid to so many teams and people where, they hosted 1A basketball for sub-state or 1A postseason. And obviously they're having Sharon Springs play Stockton or Central Plains there. And again, I know Jeremy Sampson has been on a number of top AD lists, but he is just as good as they come. And he's a friend of mine, and I've gone to him with some AD questions over the years, and he's just a super great dude. People have said, why does Joaquini host so many things? And it's their gym. They host postseason wrestling, if not every year, certainly every other year. You mentioned the purple and gold. They host the MCL a lot. They host playoff tennis. They're very equidistant for so many teams. They're on 70. They understand where they are geography wise in the state. To host so many things, you're basically like an hour from everything, especially in out west, and obviously they have the facilities and the staff to meet all those needs. And again, for those who do not know, Joaquini is as good as it gets hosting events, and it's really cool to see them have historic success this fall, the best start in school history, second best season ever, and then obviously having such a nice season this season. And honestly, in wrestling, we haven't really talked about that.
Yeah.
They have got some standout wrestlers. Cass Smith, Aaron Sampson, who'd be Jeremy's son, several on the girls' side. They should be, probably not state contenders in 3-2-1A, but I would say a top 10 to top 12 team on both the boys and girls' side this year.
And also, just going back to that gym for Joaquini, just the size, because you talk about the rest of the MCL schools. I feel like the MCL, there's more the cozy gyms, historic gyms. I think of Hill City. I remember broadcasting up in the corner from the the baseline, and Phillipsburg has a stage out there. So yeah, it's just kind of a little bit different from the MCL.
Yeah, and I don't know. For those who don't know, they've got lower stands on one side, about maybe 10, 12 rows on one side. Then the other side, they've got it built up here, and then they've got the huge second deck. So
Yeah.
it's almost like probably a fair apt comparison is almost like a Kansas Wesleyan on one side, perhaps even higher up. But yeah, your ability to fit a lot of people in there. Probably truly 800 to 1,000 could probably fit in there. And so, and you got the locker room space. Plainville's able to host. Their gym's a little smaller, but it's definitely newer. And yeah, to make a Chiefs comparison, the Chiefs are building a new stadium in order to host major events. Joaquini said, 13, 14 years ago, if now longer, probably I'm dating myself now, we're going to build this new gym in order to host events because of where we are geography wise. I would say that gym would rival truly any 5A and 6A school in Kansas. And just because of the size of it, it's very, very modern. They host a lot of volleyball as well, just because you can have two courts without really any issue at all. Their locker rooms are there. And again, we're not in this season, but tennis. It's very, very hard to host postseason tennis out west. Most people do not have the court space. Joaquini does, and they host, generally speaking, including a JV tournament, 3 tennis tournaments a year on the girls' side and 2 or 3 on the boys' side. So again, kudos to Joaquini.
Yeah, good one in Joaquini. Hey, Conor, appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, certainly, sir. Thanks so much.
Conor Nicholl with Sunflower Sports Solutions here on Kansas Sports Chatter. Are you looking for a new way to promote your business or organization? Do you want to get your message out to a statewide audience that loves high school sports in both urban and rural areas? Kansas Sports Chatter has advertising opportunities from commercials, sponsoring specific guests, product placements, and even a premier sponsorship. Let Kansas Sports Chatter promote your brand. Contact ksportschatter@gmail.com for more advertising details. That's ksportschatter@gmail.com. Come join the chatter. Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter. It's time now for our next level talent and opportunity to talk to former high school athletes from Kansas that are now competing at a college or university in the state of Kansas. Damare Smith, our next guest, he is from the University of St. Mary men's basketball team and out of Shawnee Mission Northwest High School. Hey, Damare, appreciate your time. For you, go back to your days at Shawnee Mission Northwest. What do you remember from those high school days?
It was all fun. Starting as a freshman, it was a lot to adjust to, but it was fun. Met a lot of people, made a lot of friends.
In the KC area, did you always know as a kid that you were going to go to Northwest? Was that always in the plans?
Yes.
So for you, once you arrived, what was it like just kind of settling in as a freshman in high school?
So I was playing an open gym with them since middle school. So I was knowing a lot of them once I got there, and it was just fun.
Being a scorer, throughout your career, but then also, being a distributor, which one became more natural, early on in your career, that passing ability or the scoring ability?
Probably the passing. I've always with AAU and everything, I always played with good players. So passing became easy. So when I just got to high school like that, I just learned how to figure out how to score.
When did you kind of figure out that niche of just, that scoring ability?
I'd probably say like my freshman year, probably, knowing how much, experience I've been through, just knowing each spot and how much work I put into the game.
Now, I know a number of years ago after you graduate, you set the scoring record there at Shawnee Mission Northwest. Does that thing still stand?
Yes.
How much did that mean for you to get that scoring record?
At first, I wasn't even trying to go for it, but then after some time, probably like the end of my junior year, I was like, oh, I'm actually kind of close, and it was just fun. I had my coach there, the AJ who said it. He was there coaching me, so he was pushing me along the way, trying to get me to reach it.
Did you know the exact bucket, like when you got it?
Yeah, it was against Olathe West.
Hey, how convenient. So for you, going to Cali to start out your collegiate career, like what went into that decision process?
COVID messed everything up for me, so I wanted to go bet on myself. And so I went down there, and, that was one of the best probably experiences I had, as in talent-wise. That's the best you would get. That's one of the best leagues in the city, not even the city, the world, probably for JUCO. And it was just fun, learn how to play against that much talent every night.
Playing with Donnie Jackson, like what was that experience like? What is he like as a coach?
He's very competitive. He's going to push you and get the best out of you every day.
And then after Cali, obviously choosing St. Mary, what went into that decision process?
So I've been knowing Coach Brown and Jordan since middle school. So I've been playing with him for the longest. So then they just reached out, and I was just why not?
How tough is it, like, adjusting to a new team? Like, you started at Cali, and then a couple of years ago you go to, St. Mary. Is that difficult, kind of adjusting to, just new guys and just a new team in general?
Yeah, so one of my buddies went to Cali, and he came here. So then I got to play with him still, and then I've been playing with Jordan. And then a lot of these guys were local, so, like, I either played with them in a pickup or at past AAU teams. So it was fun, but learning to new coaching was the heart of it.
Obviously when you get to the collegiate level, there's a lot of talent around you, but the difference between, talent and also a good team sometimes can be different. But like for you, like what makes a good team? You can have all the talent in the world, but what makes that team gel?
Everybody had to be bought into the goal of the at the end of the season. That's a championship. So I feel like once everybody bought into what the coach is saying and not everyone's selfish, then, it becomes fun. It makes you want to come back and keep on going.
The KSHSAA championship last year, what was that experience like just for the team?
It was amazing. I wasn't able to play. I didn't get to play, but, seeing the guys and everything, it was amazing. And I never seen anything like that, how much joy and just pride it brought to the school.
What is the competition like in the KSHSAA? How would you explain it?
It's like the Jayhawk, honestly. Everyone's good. Every team you're going to get your best shot, even from the worst team in the league. Like, everyone's good.
Hey, Damare, appreciate the time. Best of luck this season.
Thank you.
That's Damare Smith, a member of the University of St. Mary men's basketball team and out of Shawnee Mission Northwest. Are you a person that's always on the go? You can still easily keep up with Kansas Sports Chatter with the audio podcast. Hear each episode on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to follow the Kansas Sports Chatter podcast. I love those next level talents interviews that we've had on the show just because of just getting to hear their story, whether it's, their high school careers and then their recruiting process and then why they chose their current college, and especially those ones that have had multiple stops, like with Damare Smith, who started out at Shawnee Mission Northwest High School, then went to Cali College for a couple of years, and then now at the University of St. Mary. So just an excellent story on him. And even more special when you have that teammate sitting behind you. We had Tariq Soiree, his college teammates, on a couple weeks ago from Olathe West, and Damare was sitting behind him when he was doing his interview, and now Tariq, if you saw, he was sitting behind Damare during his interview. Those two went at it in high school at Olathe West and Shawnee Mission Northwest. So good stuff. Big thanks to Damare coming on the show. That'll do it for our program this week. We'll be back at it next Tuesday with episodes coming out on Tuesday and Thursday. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube to Kansas Sports Chatter.